I'm 15 years old and I'm in the police station at Perth Traino. And there's a police officer sitting before me and he asked me, what were they wearing? And a little laugh escapes and I look at him and I say, Adidas. The laugh was kind of inappropriate because it was a pretty serious situation, but I was feeling weird and numb and a bit sort of out of my body because I had just been bashed. I'd been living in Perth for about 6 months, prior to which I spent 10 years growing up in what I call the arsehole of the southwest, but you might know it as Harvey. Being the daughter of the deputy principal meant that I became really familiar with how bullies looked and felt. So, for example, I knew that bullies would use words but rarely use fists. They would use insults with things they were familiar with, like cow or bush pig. And they were difficult to identify in some ways because they could be a known enemy or they could be your best friend, and they could be all of that within one day. But I knew my strategy was ignore them, don't engage, and walk away. So enter me at 15, the very reluctantly labelled country girl in the big smoke. And I'm excited. I can go to the city with my friends on the weekend. I can go to the bus station and buy smokes from Michael at the newsagents there whilst wearing my school uniform. I knew my enemy and I knew my shit. Except the bullies looked a little bit different in Perth. So whilst they would use words, they also use fists. Their insults were a little less dairy farm and a little more severe, so you might get called slut or cunt. And I learned that they were actually much easier to identify in Perth because bullies in Perth, girls my age roamed in gangs, which is ridiculous, and they all wore Adidas pants. About a month before I was bashed, I was on the train after school. So I went to school at Perth Mod and I caught the train from West Leederville. It was always packed with students both from Mod and from other schools in the area. I had a friend sort of in front of me and we're blabbing away. I was probably being loud and maybe obnoxious, as is my brand. And I noticed that they sort of shrunk down a little and sort of gave me this look like, you need to stop talking now. And I could sense something was happening over here in my periphery. I could hear some girls talking, and I knew that they did not like me. And when I sort of glanced over, I knew that I was in real trouble because they were wearing Adidas pants. And so that was the first time that they threatened to bash me, or to use their words, make me piss. A few weeks later, I ran into them again. They surrounded me on the platform 9 at Perth train station. It was a bit more full on this time. There was more of them. They said that they knew where I lived, and they threatened to slit my throat. And I knew that they were serious because when they were saying they were going to slit my throat, they did this, right? And Adidas pants, they're serious. Anyway, I was lucky that day. A man saw what had happened, came and put his arm around me and whisked me away, and I've never forgotten that. So on the day in question, I was in town. It was a Saturday. I was with my school friend Natalie, and we were walking from sort of the art gallery area was behind us, and we were walking across the top concourse at Perth train station. We walked past the first set of escalators, the second set of escalators. We were aiming for the third set, and that was when we saw them. There was the ringleader and her sidekick. But I had my strategy. Don't engage, just walk away. So the escalators were here, and we had the stairs right in front of us to go down to the Australian platform. So we, without speaking, knew that's what we were going to do. And as I started down the stairs, suddenly I'm pushed, and I'm tumbling down to the first landing. I've been pushed, and it was hard. I managed to get my shit together. I stand up and I'm face to face with these two girls. Right in front of me is the ringleader. She's about this high. She's quite small. She's smoking. She's wearing Adidas pants. And then there's her sidekick, and she's tall, she's pretty stocky, and her eyes were as fiery as her red hair. You know what pants she was wearing too. They were both smoking. And so it starts. They're saying to me, come on, fight me, I know what you did. And I'm like, I'm not going to fight you. I don't fucking know how to fight. And also, I didn't think I should have to apologise or deal with this at all, because I didn't call them sluts, even if they heard that that's what I did. And so it goes on, and then I suddenly hear her say, Emma, take my smoke. And I'm thinking, why can't you hold your own smoke? And suddenly my head is around here. It's done a 180. She can't hold her own smoke because she wanted to punch me in the face. So I didn't feel the punch. I didn't see it coming. Adrenaline is pretty cool that way. But I deduced that that's what had happened as to why my head was around here. I bring it back and she starts yelling some more, and then it gets a bit quieter and some people are coming past on the stairs, and I think now's my chance to really, stranger danger, or yell out whatever I need so they know I'm in trouble and I need help. And so I yell, no, I'm not going to let you hit me again, not again. The subtle subtext was, she's just hit me, she's going to hit me again, help. Apparently too subtle, and they just kept moving. And so it continued, and then she punched me again, and I sort of bring my head back around. I was starting to get my wits about me at this stage and thinking about exit strategies. And so there was a young mother and her two kids that were coming down the stairs past us, and I thought, surely she wouldn't be so brazen to hit me in front of like a mother and her kids. So I choose my moment, I slip in with them, I get to the bottom of the stairs, and I make a run for it. So I run around the back of the stairs, and I see Natalie. I'd forgotten all the fuck about her. Natalie's running towards me, and she's got two cops. And I'm like, wicked, I was just going to find those guys. So I'm running towards her, she's running towards me, and the cops keep running, and I'm like, no. She's like, no, this is her. So they came back, and they take me into the cop station at the Perth traino, and that was how I found myself to be sitting in front of a police officer asking what were they wearing. 15-year-old girls fighting in high school is not really high on the priority list for WA police. I didn't know who these girls were. I only knew that they caught the same train every day. The police said that we could press charges, or I could get a restraining order, but we couldn't do either of those things without knowing who they were. And I really liked the idea of a restraining order, to be honest, because this was so unfair. And I felt like I needed something to protect me. They had just come in and interrupted my life and bashed me. And I thought, at the very least, if I have this piece of paper, I can hold it up when they're around. I can say, halt, no closer than 200 metres. I'm sure that would work, right? To be honest, 15-year-old Bryony also quite liked the idea of doing adult things, and that felt like a very adult thing to do. 38-year-old Bryony isn't enjoying adulting quite so much. So the police took my statement and I went home. And it was the evening by then. My mum made me tea. My dad would have worried. And I cried. The next day was Sunday. And I couldn't shake this feeling of feeling like it was so unfair that there was no punishment or consequence for these girls and nothing to stop them from hurting me again. And my sister took me aside. My sister Tiffany, and she said, I've got an idea. And she explained the idea to me. And my stomach dropped out from me in fear. And I agreed. The next day was Monday. I'm at West Leederville station after school, ready to catch the train home. I knew the Bullies would be on that train. That's where they always were. My sister's at the train station too, but we don't acknowledge each other. We don't let anyone know that we know each other. I'd already given her a description of what the girls looked like. And when we got on the train, I knew where they were. And I just sort of sneakily, she knew what sort of pants to look for, sneakily pointed out where they were. And then I bolted. The train was packed and I moved as quickly as I could through all the people on that carriage into the next carriage. I was terrified, mouth dry, shaking, heart racing for what could happen now. We got to Perth. And I met with my sister behind some stairs where no one could see. She said, I got them. And she passed me a piece of paper. And the piece of paper said, Julie Deer, Bollywood High School, her address and her date of birth. My sister had created some surveys to distribute on the train about school uniforms. And there was things like, what do you like to wear to school? What don't you like to wear to school? Hey, what school do you go to? And for statistical purposes, can we have your name, address, and date of birth? So we got them. We got the info to the police, and I didn't press charges, but I did get that restraining order. However, when all that was said and done, I had the restraining order, but I realised that wasn't what I needed for protection. That wasn't what I needed to feel safe. I had my big sister.